I heard there was this podcast, yo, about something funny like wrestling and so, and you really care about wrestling, don't you? There are drop kicks and leases all over the board, and then something called the Wrestling Hold. It's a super duper fun podcast about wrestling. That wrestling show. That wrestling show. That wrestling show. That wrestling show. Well, Fro and Bill and maybe a guest or two is here to hold your hand and guide you through a podcast about wrestling. We have a lot of extreme fun, and that's without a gun, because I needed something to rhyme fun with. That wrestling show, that wrestling show, that wrestling show, that wrestling show. Well, sit your behinds gently down and listen to our podcast sound and try to guess this week's Pro question. You win a lot of cool things and also help Bill with his bills. That's a super duper fun competition. That wrestling show. 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 That wrestling show.
And welcome to episode number 400 of That Wrestling Show, the only podcast where all pro wrestling matters. I am your host, Bill, and joining me, as always, north of the border in Norway, is Fro.
Hello!
Although I think I was referring to Canada just there, so, oh well. Anyway, this week we are going to have the debate on if AEW will succeed or if it will fail based on an article from the newest edition of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. We'll get into that a little bit later because they've had a busy week. Plus, we're going to get into some other news, the G1 Climax. We're going to talk about the Raw reunion. Supposedly was the biggest reunion of all time, but was it any good? Well, we'll figure that all out a little bit later.
Yeah, but what show is it this week?
Do we have a show this week?
No, but what show? What's the number of the show?
400. 400. So,
Woohoo.
because this is episode 400, for this one time only, we are bringing back This Day in Wrestling History. This was voted upon by you, our Facebook friends, to bring back for one time only any segment that we used to do, and it was decided that This Day in Wrestling History would be the one. So let's take a look at everything that happened on this day, the 26th of July in wrestling history. We have 2 birthdays today, Fro. How about that? Did you remember to bring the birthday cake?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Did you remember the birthday cake?
No.
Damn it. Oh well. Anyway, happy birthday to former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Tommy Wildfire Rich. Today he turns 63 years old. And another happy birthday. Happy birthday to former ECW World Television and Tag Team Champion Pitbull number 2, Anthony Durant. If he was alive today, he would be 52 years old. But he is not with us. Because, he's dead. On this, also, sorry about that. On this day in 1998, the WWF held In Your House Fully Loaded in Fresno, California. Have you seen that show?
No. Don't think so.
Okay. Well, this is an interesting show, to say the least. Here are the results from the show. Val Venus defeated Jeff Jarrett. D'Lo Brown defeated X-Pac. Farouk and Scorpio beat Justin Bradshaw and Terry Funk. Mark Henry pinned Vader. 8-Ball and Skull, the DOA, defeated LOD 2000. Owen Hart defeated Ken Shamrock in a dungeon match where the match was taped at the famous Hart family house in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. The Rock and Triple H had a 2 out of 3 falls match for the Intercontinental title that went to the full 30-minute time limit draw. Sable defeated Jacqueline in a bikini contest. The decision would be reversed the next night on Raw due to Sable not having a bikini top on as she had handprints painted on her chest. Yes, Fro, that did in fact happen. And in the main event, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker defeated Mankind and Kane to win the WWF Tag Team titles. Also on this day in 1999 was the continuation of the Monday Night Wars, where on this day, Monday Nitro got its ass handed to them by Monday Night Raw. Nitro had a 3.4 rating. Raw had a 7.1. Here's what Nitro brought to the table on that night. Bobby Duncombe and Kendall Windham defeated Juventud Guerrera and Psychosis. Rey Mysterio defeated Vampiro by disqualification. Stevie Ray defeated Vincent. Prince Iaukea defeated Lash LaRue by disqualification. Evan Courageous defeated Ernest Miller. Steven Regal beat Mikey Whipwreck. Goldberg beat Kurt Hennig by disqualification. Medusa defeated Patty Stonegrinder? Okay, I've never heard of that one. Shane Douglas defeated Scott Putski. David Flair. Yes, David Flair successfully defended the United States title, beating Chris Benoit. Rick Steiner successfully defended the television title, beating Chase Tatum. And in the main event of that episode of Nitro, Kevin Nash, yes, that Kevin Nash, and Sid Vicious defeated Hulk Hogan and Sting. Meanwhile, on Monday Night Raw, The Godfather and Val Venus defeated Droz and Prince Albert in a street fight. Kane defeated The Big Show and Undertaker by disqualification in a handicap match. Triple H defeated Ken Shamrock. And in the main event, The Rock fought Chyna and Billy Gunn to a no contest in a handicap match. Thrilling stuff, isn't it, Fro? Excuse me. And finally, on this day in 2003, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla had their very first show ever. It was held at Frankensons at the City of Industry, California. That is a real town, Fro. Here are the results from this show. Charles Mercury, Sarah Del Rey, and Superbad defeated Ryan Drago, Top Gun, Tall War, and Zocre. Excalibur, yes, that Excalibur, defeated Chris Bosch. Super Dragon defeated M-Dog 20. Taro defeated Baby Slim. Hook Bomberry and Apollo Khan defeated Mr. Excitement and Disco Machine. Hardcore Inc., which is the team of the Hardcore Kid, Alcatraz, and Adam Pearce defeated the X Foundation of Funky Billy Kim, Scott Lost, and Joey Ryan. And in the main event, a non-title match, AJ Styles, then the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, defeated Frankie Kazarian. And that's what happened on this day, the 26th of July, in wrestling history. A lot of fun, cool. Yeah, a lot of fun stuff there. And when I mean by fun stuff, I mean, who knows? All right. Let's talk about the news that's been going on over the last 24 hours. And for the second time in 6 months, Jimmy Uso got arrested for DUI. I'm going to read this report. The original report I'm going to read is from TMZ. And then I'm going to read another story another side of this story that comes from the local ABC affiliate from where this all happened. So, this is the... Hold on, let me... Oh, God. Okay, I'm going to have to... I'm going to have to read you that one later. All right. But here's the original detail. So, this news broke yesterday. WWE superstar Jimmy Uso was arrested for driving under the influence near Pensacola, Florida, early Thursday morning, TMZ Sports has learned. Details surrounding the arrest are unclear, but here's what we know so far. The 33-year-old was booked at 3:04 a.m., and the charge on the police website says DUI, driving with an unlawful blood alcohol level. Unclear what cops say Uso's BAC was at the time of the arrest. We're working on it. Cops say Uso, real name Jonathan Fatu, is still behind bars. His bond was set at $1,000. Raw this week was in Tampa, Florida. SmackDown was in Miami. Uso has a history with the law. Back in February, Jimmy was arrested after allegedly getting into a drunken dispute with cops in Detroit. They claimed Jimmy squared up as if he was going to fight the police. He was arrested for disorderly conduct and obstruction. In fact, just on Monday, John Cena clowned Uso's mugshot from his February arrest during Raw, and Uso was smiling about it. Yes, that did happen. If you didn't see that Raw, they did mention his arrest. John Cena jinxed him. WWE released a statement later that day. Would you like to guess what it said?
Sure. I'm very, very happy.
WWE issued a statement saying, Jonathan Fatu is responsible for his own personal actions. That's the best they could do, Fro, about that. That is so lazy. Okay, so that was from TMZ. Now, the report that I'm going to read to you guys is from ABC3 WEAR TV. So that's probably like Tallahassee, Pensacola, that area. So that news station reported that a complaint about a possible DUI came in around 1:30 in the morning on Thursday. An off-duty officer advised the deputy that there was a car traveling over 100 miles per hour as it drifted between lanes. It was said that the vehicle pulled in at the Ticket Sports Bar, but when the deputy showed up, Uso's car was already gone. While sitting at a Publix, I have no idea what that is, the deputy then observed a car accelerating rapidly, and he clocked the vehicle going 86 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour speed zone while traveling close to other cars. This is when Uso was pulled over. The police report indicates that Jimmy Uso had trouble holding his driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance when the officer requested them. Uso was also reportedly slurring his speech, had bloodshot watery eyes, dilated pupils, and his eyelids were also droopy. The officer could smell alcohol in the car, and he requested that Jimmy Uso step out of the car to speak with him. After several requests to step out of the car, Uso finally complied. However, he reportedly had trouble standing on his feet. This is when the officer asked Jimmy Uso if he would ride with him to a nearby flat, well-lit parking lot for a sobriety test. Jimmy Uso did ride with the deputy to the parking lot, but then he seemed to be confused and asked what was happening. The officer revealed that Uso would need to take a field sobriety test, to which Jimmy asked if he needed a lawyer and whether he was being detained. The officer revealed that it was not possible to have a lawyer present at that time, and he was going to conduct a field sobriety test. Then Uso reportedly took his phone from his pocket and attempted to put his phone toward the deputy's face. At that time, Jimmy Uso was placed in handcuffs, and he became uncooperative and had to be told numerous times to have a seat in the patrol car. Jimmy Uso reportedly kept saying that he was uncomfortable and asked to speak with another deputy numerous times. The report also revealed that on the way to the jail, the officer needed to roll down his window to let the car air out due to the overwhelming smell of alcohol coming from the WWE superstar.
Wow.
God dang. Okay. The first time around, he really didn't do anything, if you remember. Like, all it was he was drunk. He wasn't behind the wheel on that one. He was drunk, was gonna fight the officer, but never did. This time, he's driving behind the wheel, and he's doing over 80 to 100 at a 45 mile per hour speed zone. There is a problem with this. Huge problem.
Mm-hmm.
So we posted on our Facebook group the original TMZ story. Would you like to hear their replies?
Yes.
Okay. So one person put a gif of Zach from Saved by the Bell saying, "Again?" And then we had another comment that said, "On the same week, Cena made fun of him for getting arrested." Yes. We had a good one here. In my opinion, they should have released him the first time it happened. That's already 2 times this year. If it was another wrestler, they would have released him right on the spot. That's a good point. That's a good point. I think because of what family he belongs to, he's going to be given another chance. Another person said they haven't released Jeff Hardy, so don't pull. If it was another wrestler, they would have been released now. Okay, that's fair. That's fair, but Jeff wasn't really arrested that much for drunkenness. This was the first time. Jimmy Uso's been arrested twice in a 6-month period for being drunk. So, what would you do in this case if you were in charge?
I have no idea. No idea there at all.
I'd have him off TV, and I'd have him go to Alcoholics Anonymous. Plain and simple. I'd be like, if you want your job, you're going to take care of this. This is twice in 6 months, Fro. Remember what happened the last time this happened? He and his brother end up winning the tag team titles. It's ridiculous. Hopefully he could get some help. Hopefully. Let's talk about some good news. Major League Wrestling announced yesterday that they are in a working agreement with Pro Wrestling Noah, the wrestling promotion in Japan. The press release, which came out today, reads the following. It is with great honor that Major League Wrestling partners with Pro Wrestling Noah to form an alliance. This all-encompassing partnership will feature athletes exchanged between the two organizations, as well as opportunities to share content in addition to other opportunities. The partnership will commence with an MLW wrestler, participating in the 2019 N1 Victory Tour that commences this August. The wrestler will be revealed at a later date. Said MLW CEO and founder Court Bauer, Pro Wrestling Noah has a rich history of promoting some of the greatest wrestling bouts in the history of the sport. This is a very exciting partnership. We look forward to joining Noah and beginning a new voyage or a new era. I'm going to say this, and this is with all due respect. If this was 10 years ago, this announcement would be huge, because Pro Wrestling Noah was still relevant at the time, before all the bad stuff happened. They're still in business, which is good. It is important, but I don't think it's as important as it should be. Maybe this will get Pro Wrestling Noah attention back from the U.S. fans. Maybe not. Who knows? I'm looking forward to this. I'd like to see where this is going, especially since they're going to have a pay-per-view coming up this November. So, be interesting to see where things go. Speaking of working relations, while one is beginning, another has ended. It was reported a few days ago that Ring of Honor and the National Wrestling Alliance have parted ways. In a report, it was confirmed by PW Insider, that Nick Aldis is no longer advertised for their upcoming event on August the 9th in Toronto. NWA Vice President Dave Lagana, who had been producing all of the Ring of Honor pre-tapes over the last 7 months, finished his commitments this past weekend. PW Insider is told that the decision was made for each promotion to go their separate ways, and that NWA President Billy Corgan intends on putting all his energy towards producing a weekly standalone NWA series later this year once he completes the current Smashing Pumpkins tour. Sources close to each promotion have stated that they have parted ways on amicable terms, and the door is open to potentially partner down the line. So basically, while it has ended for the time being, it can open up again. Basically, that's where they're going with. Alright, so Fro, I have a special surprise for everyone.
Yes.
I got this in my email yesterday. And I know there are people who are wondering, what has Lio Rush been up to as of late? Okay, I'm not going to lie. Probably no one has asked that. Well, Lio Rush has decided to start a music career. And he recently released his first hip-hop single. And it is called Scenic Lullaby. So what I'm going to do, Fro, is I'm going to take my microphone. I'm going to put it towards my speaker. I'm going to play a brief clip of his rap. And you tell me what you think of it. You ready?
Please do, yes.
All right, here we go.
Meditation and I'm the pain. A premonition to go and get it, I'm chasing fame. But I swear I'ma never look back though. I know they see me, but I only let my back show. The devil tried to guide me, but I got tunnel vision. God's plan was to help me make better decisions. Bumps in the road, those times were pretty scary. No Timmy Turner, but I was wishing for that God very odd times. Yeah, this little light of mine, Corey, cause they let me shine for a better me. That purple Clark boy, that's a friend of me. That black soul drain me from my energy.
Okay, so what did you think of it?
I didn't hear it.
Oh, that's good. You know what? Let me send you the link so you can hear it. Obviously, I'll be putting this link in our Facebook group. It's only a 30-second clip. Do you want to play it on your end now so you can hear it?
Oh, good.
So the song is called Scenic Lullaby.
Okay.
I'd be very interested to see how Fro thinks of this.
I'm playing it. I'm going to it now. Scenic Lullaby. Okay, playing it.
I think I got it on my end when I played it, so.
It's bad.
There you go.
It's very, very bad.
from the king of rap, Fro.
Yeah.
In defense, though, it's not the worst I've ever heard. I've heard worse, but it's not. I mean, it's bad, but it's not terribly bad. You know? Let's talk about some New Japan, because we have a few minutes here. Coming up later this month is going to be the Super J Cup, and it's coming over to the United States. And New Japan announced today the first 3 competitors for the Super J Cup tournament. They are Sho, TJP, and Dragon Lee. Those are the first 3 names announced to compete in the Super J Cup tournament. Some good talent right there. And let's briefly talk about the current tournament that's going on, the G1. They will be back in action tomorrow, but we do have the updated standings. The A block right now is a 2-way tie for first. Kenta and Okada each have 8 points. So they are sitting very comfortably on the top of the board. Then we got a bunch in the middle. Hiroshi Tanahashi, Evil, Lance Archer, and Kota Ibushi each have 4 points. And rounding out the bottom is a 4-way for second. Will Ospreay, Sonata, Zack Sabre Jr., and Bad Luck Fale each have 2 points. Meanwhile, in the B block, Jon Moxley is the only one undefeated at 8 points, followed by Juice Robinson with 6. Then we got a bunch of guys at 4, including Tomohiro Ishii, Shingo Takagi, Toru Yano, Taichi, and Tetsuya Naito. And then we have 3 at the bottom, Jeff Cobb, Hiroki Goto, and Jay White with 2 points. So, at least everyone has scored a win in the tournament. So, like I said, they're going to be getting back right into action tomorrow. Looks like it's going to be a pretty big card for tomorrow, because the A block gets back in the competition. Did you get a chance at all to watch the Raw reunion on Monday night?
No, I don't give 2 fucks. It's true. It's true.
No, I know. Honestly, you didn't miss much. The focus, it seemed, besides the legends coming out for like a brief appearance, until about the end when they had everyone come out on stage, was the 24/7 title. Because, you know, that's been our favorite thing the last several weeks. So, you might need a notepad to keep track of who won the 24/7 title during this episode of Raw. So, we began the night with R-Truth as champion. He survived Comic-Con as the 24/7 champion. He then loses the title to Drake Maverick. Drake Maverick, after being scared by the Boogeyman, loses the title to Pat Patterson, which I think makes Pat Patterson the oldest wrestler to win a title in WWE for men. Then he loses the title to Gerald Briscoe, which probably makes Gerald Briscoe the oldest man to win a title in WWE. Then Gerald Briscoe loses the title to Kelly Kelly. So Kelly Kelly is the first woman to win the 24/7 title. Then Kelly Kelly loses the title to Candice Michelle. Then Candice Michelle loses the title to Alundra Blaze. And then Alundra Blaze loses the title to her bad promo. Because she's like, I don't care if I'm the 24th champion, I'm not going to have this title for long. Those were her exact words. Then Alundra Blaze comes out, and she's about to put the 24/7 title in the trash, when all of a sudden, the $1 Million Man comes out, and he buys the 24/7 title from Alundra Blaze. So the $1 Million Man is the new 24/7 champion. Then he loses the title to Drake Maverick, and just as Drake Maverick is about to leave the arena with the title, he gets pinned by R-Truth, and R-Truth wins the title back. So, for the record, the order is R-Truth beginning the night, then Maverick, Patterson, Briscoe, Kelly, Michelle, Blaze, DiBiase, Maverick, R-Truth. R-Truth is a 10-time WWE 24/7 champion.
Is it kind of losing its point now?
I have no idea. I would hope not. 10 times. 10 times. Anyway, other notes from this show. Most of DX was there, except Billy Gunn, because he works at AEW. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were there. Devon was there, but not Bubba Ray. Rikishi came out. Booker T was on commentary for a match. Coach was on commentary for a match. Jerry Lawler was on commentary for a match. Braun Strowman destroyed some poor jobber in about a minute. The end of the show was Flair and Hogan talking on stage. Then Stone Cold came out, and he talked, and he was drinking, and everybody came out into the ring to drink, and that was really it. That was your Raw reunion. So, somebody put up a poll, what they thought about that episode. Most people gave this an A.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know how, and I don't know why, but it got an A. Some people gave it a C, some gave it a D, one gave it an F. I'm gonna give it a C. Because really, and I'm not, I'm normally not a negative person, but the only thing that I saw as far as any development for this Raw was Seth and Brock, which was basically Seth being on Miz TV and Paul Heyman interrupting. And then a moment of bliss with Natalya and Becky Lynch. And that was it. As far as developing everything else, no development whatsoever. None. Yeah, that was pretty much everybody there. SmackDown was a little bit interesting from the broadcast point of view. Byron Saxton was not there. His father passed away over the weekend, unfortunately, so our condolences go out to Byron and his entire family. And Corey Graves was not at SmackDown on Tuesday because he was filming for a Netflix movie that's going to be released by WWE next year. So, oh boy, I wonder how that commentary went.
Yeah.
All right, Fro, you and I, are going to take a break.
Yes.
We're going to take a break.
We need it because it's so hot in here.
Yep, and it is time for our SummerSlam report. And when we come back, the second half of the show is all about AEW and the debate of 2019. Will it succeed or will it fail? Folks, we are only 2 weeks away from this Sunday night as SummerSlam comes around for the biggest event of the entire summer. Taking place this year at the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. North of the border is going to truly feel the heat with SummerSlam. Now then, this past week has been a week full of new matches being announced, which we'll get to in a little bit, but also has been a week full of the matches that have already been signed getting heated up as we get closer and closer to Sunday night, August the 11th at SummerSlam. Now, let's talk about the main event of SummerSlam. Brock Lesnar defending the Universal Championship against Seth Rollins. We know the history between the two men. Seth winning the Universal title at WrestleMania this year, only to lose it recently at Extreme Rules to Brock Lesnar. This is the third and who knows, maybe final confrontation between the two men coming up at SummerSlam. Also at SummerSlam, the Raw Women's Championship is on the line. Becky Lynch going up against Natalya. Now, if you saw this past Monday night on Raw with a moment of bliss, Becky and Natalya, the words kept getting hotter and hotter and also stronger and stronger. Neither woman budging towards this huge confrontation in Toronto. Also, the SmackDown Women's Championship is on the line. Bayley going up against Ember Moon. Ember Moon has yet to have a one-on-one opportunity for a singles championship in WWE. This is her opportunity coming up in 2 weeks at SummerSlam. Now then, let's talk about the new matches that are announced this week for SummerSlam. And right off the bat, we must talk about the WWE Championship match that will be a part of SummerSlam. Kofi Kingston defending the WWE Championship against Randy Orton. It was just over a week ago on SmackDown where Randy Orton pinned Kofi Kingston in a 6-man tag team match, thus earning the opportunity at the WWE title. To Kofi Kingston, this is nothing more than a personal vendetta, a grudge of over 10 years being held up inside. He has blamed Randy Orton for basically holding him down. While Randy Orton has admitted publicly this week that he did hold him back, the opportunity for Randy Orton to be once again the WWE Champion is right around the corner. All it takes is just one RKO, and it could be bye-bye to the WWE Championship. Now, speaking of bye-bye, let's talk about this match that is announced this week for SummerSlam, and my goodness, it gives me the goosebumps. Finn Balor against Bray Wyatt, but not just ordinary Bray Wyatt. We're talking about the Fiend Bray Wyatt. These two men, they have the history against each other, and now with this new persona of Bray Wyatt is even more deadly and dangerous than ever before. Finn Balor may want to be on his toes come August 11th. And speaking of feuds, Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon are going to face each other one-on-one, and the stakes could not be higher. If Kevin Owens loses this match, he will quit WWE. That is how much Kevin Owens hates Shane McMahon. This is what has brought these two to the forefront north of the border at SummerSlam, with one man risking his entire career on the line at just 2 weeks' time. Just 2 weeks coming up at SummerSlam. Now, folks, I got to tell you, we're getting closer and closer to the biggest event of the entire summer. You don't want to miss it. If you can't be a part of SummerSlam in Toronto, Ontario, Canada at the Scotiabank Arena, it's okay. The next best thing is to sign up on the WWE Network. And it's real simple, folks. All you have to do is go to WWE.com and then go to the WWE Network, sign up, and you will get a free 1-month trial of the WWE Network, which also includes SummerSlam right around the corner. Folks, I can honestly tell you with all anticipation, we're just 2 weeks away from what could be a monumental SummerSlam. You have 4 championships right now on the line at SummerSlam, with 3 of them being a lot of grudges. You also have The Fiend going to make his in-ring debut at SummerSlam, and Kevin Owens' job is on the line coming up at SummerSlam. What will happen? Who will prevail? And who will take the moment right out of the heat? Come back next week for another SummerSlam report. I'm out of love. Welcome back, folks. We are now going to, basically the rest of this show is going to be all about AEW. And before we get into this debate, the big news that came out this week is pretty much one that we've all known by now. And that is All Elite is going to be on TV. It will be on TNT. October the 2nd is the date of the first episode. Although, no name of the show has been announced yet, Fro. So, we don't know what it's going to be right now. But it'll be interesting to see what it is. Now, the first episode of this new TV show, when it airs, will be in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., at the Capital One Arena. So you can bet your bottom dollar I will do everything in my power to get to that show. Because I want to be a part of history, damn it. History, baby.
History.
History in the making, if you will. Okay, so, as we said to you guys last week, we keep our end of the promise on this podcast. We are gonna have a fun debate here, because in the latest edition of Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine, which you guys can pick up now at your newsstands, or if you want to subscribe, go to pwy-online.com. On the cover, because this is pretty cool, Fro, because this is the 40th anniversary edition of Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. Dusty Rhodes was on the very first cover of Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. 40 years later, his sons are on the cover of the magazine. How cool is that? So, in the magazine, two of their senior writers, Al Castle and Dan Murphy, make a debate. They make an argument about why AEW will succeed and why AEW will fail. So, I guess my question to you, Fro, do you want to take, for this debate, the side of it will succeed or the side it will fail?
I will take fail, please.
Okay. So what I'm going to do for everyone is I'm going to read both.
It's incredibly hot in here. It's so hot. You picked the fucking hottest day in Norway to call me. Every door is open, and I can't have the air conditioner on because it makes too fucking much noise. Oh, it's so warm.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. It's hot.
It's hot. All the snow in Norway is melting. Okay, so I will read both cases, the succeed side and the fail side. I will start with Al Castle, and he wrote about how AEW will be a success. Dan, when we recorded our PWI podcast days after Double or Nothing, I was surprised that you still weren't optimistic about AEW's chances of success.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe it's them right now calling. The show may not have answered all the questions I had about the upstart company, but it did answer one very important one. Is AEW for real? After Double or Nothing, I think the answer to that question is an emphatic yes. For years now, wrestling fans have craved an alternative to WWE. And while there's never been a shortage of American promotions with quality wrestling and charismatic talent, until now, none of them have been able to replicate the big league atmosphere of WWE. It's the difference between watching a big-budget Marvel superhero blockbuster and an independent film, or the difference between watching a Disney musical on Broadway and a play at your local theater company. Perhaps for the first time since the closure of WCW, All Elite Wrestling is giving fans an alternative to WWE without asking them to forego the accessibility and high production value that comes with it. That comes in part from having the deep pockets and commitment of the company's founders, Shahid Khan and his son Tony, and also the built-in fan base of Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, and their brethren from the uber-popular Being the Elite YouTube series. Now, Dan, I know you've raised the concern that AEW is falling into the same pitfall that TNA and other wrestling promotions have in the past by relying heavily on ex-WWE stars like Cody, Chris Jericho, and the former Dean Ambrose, now Jon Moxley. But I couldn't disagree more. First, AEW would have been crazy not to snag Jericho and Moxley, not because of their name recognition, but because their wrestling style and IQ are tailor-made for AEW's progressive vision for wrestling. The very fact that Moxley, Jericho, and others would choose to sign with AEW rather than staying in WWE speaks volumes about why there is so much optimism about AEW. In his tell-all interview on Jericho's podcast, Moxley outlined a bureaucratic creative process that has long hamstrung WWE, and raved about having the creative freedom in AEW to maximize their storytelling abilities. What's more, it's clear that AEW is looking to learn from the mistakes of TNA, WCW, and other promotions by using established talent to help create new stars. That was apparent from the involvement of Maxwell Jacob Friedman, Jimmy Havoc, and Jungle Boy in the high-profile angle involving Bret Hart and Hangman Adam Page as they introduced the AEW Championship belt. In several other ways, big and small, AEW has sought to differentiate itself from other wrestling companies, and particularly from WWE. That includes AEW's decision to hold UFC-style post-fight gaggles with media, its rule of leaving countouts to the discretion of referees, and its use of stats and win-loss records to advance storylines and ultimately wrestlers' careers. But all of AEW's assets, from its visionary brain trust to its deep roster to its major league production value, wouldn't mean a whole lot without the right platform to reach potential fans. It's what held back Impact Wrestling, ROH, and many others from reaching their full potential. But with the announcement of a primetime television slot on TNT, which reaches nearly as many households as WWE's cable home, USA, AEW is in the perfect position to hit the ground running at a time when WWE is particularly vulnerable. This may sound crazy, Dan, but I could see AEW drawing more weekly television viewers than WWE within 12 months. They've got the vision, the infrastructure, and the resources to win over wrestlers and wrestling fans alike. Okay, so that was for Succeeded. Now, I'm gonna read the failure. Why AEW be a failure? This is from Dan Murphy. So this is representing Fro. Oh, Al, you're the eternal optimist. If I may borrow a quote from BoJack Horseman, when you look at something through rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags. I'm not going to say AEW is dead in the water. I'm not going to write the company's epitaph before the first episode even runs on TNT. But I'm going to say I'm extremely skeptical that AEW is for real. And while you may see AEW drawing more television viewers than WWE in 12 months, I'll be impressed to see AEW simply survive that long. There are some people out there, including you, Al, who are treating Double or Nothing like it was WrestleMania, Starrcade, Wrestle Kingdom, and the Parade of Champions all rolled up into one. Let's call it what it was. A glorified super indie card carried by one good match between a pair of WWE cast-offs and a surprise appearance by Jon Moxley, who was a disappointment as a draw and ratings mover in WWE. It wasn't the worst pay-per-view I've ever seen, though the Battle Royal was putrid, but it certainly didn't make me want to rush out to buy tickets for AEW's next event. So pump the brakes on the hype train a bit and let me give you a quick history lesson. 1990. Promoter Herb Abrams forms the Universal Wrestling Federation as an alternative to WWF and NWA programming. His first and only pay-per-view in 1991 is headlined by Steve Williams vs. Bam Bam Bigelow. The UWF disappears a short time later. 2001. Jimmy Hart partners with Hulk Hogan to create the XWF, a new promotion built out of the ashes of WCW. Jerry Lawler, the Road Warriors, Kurt Hennig, and a young kid by the name of AJ Styles are among the all-star cast recruited. Hart lands SunWest Management Systems as an investor, a series of tapings are held, and nothing, other than a whole lot of legal wrangling over the next decade. 2007. MTV. Yes, MTV creates its own wrestling league called Wrestling Society X. Producer Kevin Kleinrock boldly proclaims it will make everyone forget about WWE. It lasts one season. 2014. Mega successful producer Mark Burnett, the mastermind behind Survivor, joins forces with mega successful Hollywood director Robert Rodriguez to launch Lucha Underground on the El Rey network. With cutting-edge production values, a Hollywood budget, and a huge roster of talented wrestlers, LU makes a big splash. 4 years later, it goes on hiatus as several contracted wrestlers publicly demand to be released. Now you might say that Shahid and Tony Khan have deeper pockets than all of those other wannabes put together. And you'd be right. I counter that the Khans have zero experience in running a wrestling company or a weekly episodic television show. Wrestling history is littered with would-be visionaries and money marks who think they can topple WWE. One can only speculate how much money Bob and Janice Carter and Panda Energy lost in funding TNA. No one has challenged WWE in 20 years. No one has even come close. Cody and the Young Bucks are wrestlers. They know how to wrestle. But do they know how to produce weekly content that keeps viewers invested? Or will they focus on getting roster spots for all their pals and having everyone get their stuff in rather than build storylines? Can they overcome all of the obstacles that have destroyed so many other startups that have come before them? So far, they haven't given me any reason to think they will. WWE is too entrenched in the public consciousness as a brand. The novelty of AEW will wear off quickly, and the fans will go back to WWE, as they always do. Okay, so 2 very good written articles. I'll let you start the debate, Fro. Fro.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I think my biggest argument is something they said, and I kind of buy the argument of Jericho and things like that they would be stupid not to hire them because of their wrestling ability, but not saying that they hired them because of their namesake is very. It would
be hard to believe.
Yeah, it's unlikable.
Right. I think when Jericho and Moxley signed, they saw something. They saw potential. And I think in this day where WWE is the biggest fish in the pond, you're just looking for anything, you know? Like, if they go to Impact, it's like, oh, they went to Impact. But, you know, going to a new upstart promotion gives the brand, gives the promotion legitimacy, which is what I think they were looking for. My thing here, and this is going to be my first argument, the people who own this promotion, one of them is a wrestling fan, referring to Tony Khan. It has been well documented on this show and probably any other podcast you've heard. Tony Khan is a wrestling fan. He has been a subscriber to the Observer newsletter for a long time, and he knows, because he's young, and that's another thing, he's young, that there needs to be an alternative for wrestling. And when you have a collection of talent like the Bucks, like Omega, like Hangman Page, you have all this talent in the world, it just needs to be showcased. And we got a very good example of that from Double or Nothing, like the article said, with MJF during the Bret Hart segment. How good was he? He was great in that segment. So I think they've got one thing, both owner-wise and talent-wise, that none of these other promotions, with the exception of maybe Lucha Underground, has. And that's youth. Because all these other people that tried running promotions they were like in their 40s and 50s and 60s, and it's like, oh, this is just a fun, experiment to do. It's not going to last forever. Here, I could see this lasting a long, long time. actually bring this part up because I sort of want to chat. I want to see if you agree with what one of the writers said for the, it'll be a failure. The 4 promotions that were mentioned in that article. Why do you think they all failed?
I do think it's a little because they tried to directly compete with WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think if if they stop thinking about WWE and start thinking about themselves a little more, I think that will help them.
Okay. I agree with you that these other promotions were competing against WWE. I do agree with you there. And while AEW probably is saying that they're not, deep down, they are. They are competing against them. But I want to bring up the argument of them using former WWE wrestlers competing. You could probably count on one hand how many former WWE wrestlers they have on their roster. Because it's Jericho, Cody, Dustin Rhodes, Jon Moxley, and that's it. Oh, and Shawn Spears. And Trent. Pardon me. They have 6. They have 6 wrestlers that competed in WWE. That's not a lot.
No, but I think you can counter-argument that they have stolen a lot of talent from New Japan as well.
Yep, that's a good argument.
You could say that the company itself doesn't have any ingrown talent.
Not yet, but I think they will once the TV show starts.
Right.
But I want to say one thing, and this was something I was thinking about getting prepared for today's show, especially with this conversation. And that is, and I want to see if you agree with me or not. Because everyone's like, oh, this is going to be, the new Monday, the new war, which it very well could be. I don't see this being a quote-unquote war until 2020. And the only reason I say that is AEW is still getting their feet wet. They're not quite set yet. The feet aren't completely wet. They're getting there. It's just not there yet. I think once they have done a few months of the show, and then once we get into this new year, that's when this quote unquote war is going to begin. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing, I think I got one more thing I'm going to bring up, and then I guess we could call it the end of this debate. It seems like every time AEW does something, WWE comes back with a counter. Like Fight for the Fallen. That was a counter by WWE by bringing Evolve in their 10th anniversary show on the network. Okay. WWE more than likely, this is the rumor I've heard. It's not official yet, but this is the rumor I've heard. Is that NXT is going to get moved to Fox Sports 1, which is a sports, obviously it's a sports channel because it has the word sports in it. If WWE counters AEW's move with this, it's a good and a bad move, and I'll tell you why. One, it's a good move because we all like NXT. We like the NXT brand. They put out good shows, and their network specials are unbelievably good. But at the same time, and this is where it's the difference, I think, AEW shows are going to be live. NXT shows are taped well in advance. Is Vince McMahon, and more importantly Triple H, are they willing to risk what has been a very good foundation for years with NXT being taped in advance, having it played? Would they risk it to do live shows every week at Full Sail University? No disrespect to them. It's a great studio. It's a good environment. But would they really want to risk doing that? I don't think they would.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know if they would risk it. I feel that would be very stupid.
It would. I agree with you on that. And I will say one more thing. And I think we could call it the end of this debate. More than likely, AEW's not going to do a show on Christmas. So at least they're smart enough not to do one on Christmas night, like WWE did a few years ago, and that had everybody upset. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! I think everyone wanted to go after Vince and the USA Network on that, but no, it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. I'm interested to see. I hope the fans look at this as it's going to be a marathon, not a sprint. Because you're going to be in it for the long run. You got to be in it for the long run. So, remains to be seen. Would you like to end the show on a funny news story this week?
Yes.
Well, apparently my mom doesn't, but she doesn't have a choice.
Hello! Love you!
So, no, it's hot over there.
It's hot. It's too hot.
Alright. So, do you remember when WWE first went over to Saudi Arabia and the Prince requested, superstars to be on the show? And at the time he had requested Undertaker, Ultimate Warrior, and Yokozuna to be on the show. And only one of them could make it because the other two were dead. So, they recently have asked WWE to bring the following people over for the next Saudi Arabia show. Are you ready for this?
Oh, no.
Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, jeez.
The Big Boss Man.
Okay.
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Okay.
And Elizabeth.
Okay.
That's who they've asked to come over for the next Saudi show.
Well, some of them are dead.
They're all dead, bro.
Yeah. So they want the ghost of the wrestlers?
I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. Oh, just thought about it, mentioning Macho Man. We mentioned last week that we're getting season 2 of Dark Side of the Ring.
Mm-hmm.
We have a 3rd episode that is confirmed for this second.
Ooh.
So we already talked about, we have Dino Bravo, which is going to be an interesting show. We're going to have the Chris Benoit episode. So get ready to have tissues on hand for that one, folks. And our 3rd one, which was announced this week, the Brawl for All. For those who don't remember or don't know, it was that boxing tournament they had in '98, and it was part shoot, part not shoot. Oh, that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun. All right, that's gonna do it for this week. So, why don't we get into our plugs? If you guys have any questions or comments, send an email. WrestlingMan@thatwrestlingshow.com. Follow the show on Twitter @WrestlingShow11. Join our Facebook group. You type in That Wrestling Show Fan Group, you are right there, and add yourself. And if you don't find it, it's okay. I'm going to put the link in the description box, and you guys can click on it. Visit the Patreon page, patreon.com/Bill's World of Podcast, and check out the website, thatwrestlingshow.com. Fro, what do you guys have on Another Digital Citizen this week?
We talk about how hot it is. No, well, we probably did. Because it was a hot day. It's summer here in Norway, so all of a sudden. What did we talk about? We talked about Jesus was a Buddhist conspiracy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that should be interesting. And I heard a rumor, and this could be breaking news here, ladies and gentlemen.
It is extremely breaking news.
That Another Digital Citizen has a Twitter account.
What?
That's what I heard.
Are we on Twitter? Has somebody told me?
That's what I've heard.
Yes, we are on Twitter. You can find us on Twitter. What is our Twitter account, you ask? It's very easy. It's podcast ADC. That's podcast ADC. Yep.
Let's plug some friends of our show. Our Vantage Point, the Retro Wrestling Podcast with Joe Murata and Michael Quinn. They discuss the retro world of professional wrestling. This week, they have very good discussions on should the Mr. McMahon character have been brought in earlier than it did? Should the NWO have broken up as early as 1998? They review an episode of Wrestling at the Chase, and they finish the royal rankings of the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Fro, I'm putting you on a spot. Who do you think is the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time?
That guy.
Very good.
Yes. What is his name? Guerrero.
Oh, Eddie Guerrero. Okay.
Yeah, Eddie Guerrero. Yeah.
I think he was a good Intercontinental Champ.
Yeah.
I'd have to go with Randy Savage. That's my pick. It was tough, but if I had to pick one, it would be him. So check out our Vantage Point, the Retro Wrestling Podcast. Also, check out the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing with Mike Crockett and Ring of Honor wrestler, the Brawler, Brian Malonis. This week, they discuss more worst things they have booked in wrestling. Plus, they have a segment that they bring back as well. So check out the Wrestling Podcast About Nothing. And if you like your podcasts done with one individual, then check out Greetings from Allentown with Petey Winston. He takes a look at one episode of professional wrestling each week in his own unique perspective. This week, he watches USWA Challenge from July 8th, 1990. check that out. And oh, actually, he's got 2 episodes. Okay, I didn't realize. He also does an episode of NWA World Championship Wrestling from July 7th, 1990. I just caught that. Very interesting. And go ahead.
Oh, I said nice.
Yeah. So check that out. And if you're looking for non-wrestling related podcasts, I recommend Unspooled, the podcast where 2 people, Paul and Amy, they watch each movie on AFI's list of the 100 greatest movies of all time, the 2007 list. And this week, they discuss and watch Pulp Fiction.
Ooh, good one.
That's a good one.
I follow them. I follow them on Twitter, by the way.
Oh.
Or the podcast does. Another digital
Yeah.
system. Yeah. Did you know that another digital system is on Twitter now?
I just heard about that.
Yeah. At podcast ADC.
There you go.
At podcast ADC. Yeah.
So check out all of those lovely podcasts that we mentioned.
But Bill, we have some kind of sad news.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
This is the last episode ever. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it's not the last episode ever.
Right.
Not with you. And then maybe I will come back someday. But yeah, I'm taking a hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So probably what'll happen
Yes.
is probably just going to have guests come in until maybe find a new co-host.
Yep.
Or maybe I go solo. Who knows?
You go solo, holo, go. Yes. But yeah, no, nothing bad. Just wanted to focus on other things.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was gonna, thank everyone for listening, and that is the honest truth. This has been
400 shows.
400
Jesus.
shows, 8 years of my life has been spent doing this, and I always say, I always say to everyone, when this show began, this was not like this was not the A show. This was never meant to be the A show, but it just did.
Yeah.
And it's obviously been a blast. There have been people who listen to this all over the world, which I think is the craziest thing. And that's when I knew this show made it, is when other people around the world are listening to your show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the best damn feeling in the world, because you're doing something that you love, that you enjoy, and people are getting enjoyment out of it. I've been, a couple people have told me on occasion that this show has gotten them through rough times in their lives. And I'm going to be honest with everyone. The people that I've talked to on Facebook, or the people I've met in person, Mike Jones, who I've met a few times from DC 101, Don LaMartina, it's you guys that have gotten me through some rough times in my life, because without you guys in this show, this 5-year-old boy who had a dream of being in wrestling. I thought I'd be a wrestler, but, knock on wood, thankfully that never happened.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I learned a lot about wrestling, watching it, reading books, and that was the intent, was to educate you guys. And I feel, these 400 episodes, it's happened that way. And we've had amazing people along the way come on this show. I wish I could say everybody's names, but I can't, because I'd be going all day.
All night long.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then this Norwegian who
Oh.
we had talked for you about a couple years.
Yes.
And the only reason Fro was on this show was because of one bet. Which he got right.
Oh, I made it.
And, you know, because we've actually seen each other via Skype. If anyone is curious, we actually have seen each other.
Oh, yeah.
But Fro has become not only one of my dearest friends in the world.
Aww.
He's become part of my family.
Aww.
Even though my nephews drive you bonkers.
Oh, they definitely do.
And even though one of them thinks you're from France, which I still love. I love that.
Yep.
That's still one of my favorite things. No. In all seriousness, Fro, you know, even on weeks where you couldn't do it, or, you know, we were both down, or one of us was down, we kept pushing. Because we just wanted the best quality. I'm not going to say the best entertainment, because we do like to joke every once in a while, but we just wanted the best quality for you guys. And to be perfectly honest, Fro has helped me so much in the last year of production outside of the, like, when you guys, you know, when we're off the air, Fro has given me tips, he's given me advice here and there, and it has been a tremendous help for that. And I appreciate
all your kind words. Yes, you do.
I'm going to send you a pack of those cookies.
I'm still waiting for those darn cookies.
You know what? The next convention, which is right around the corner, in about 2.5 months, I'm going to make sure to get you one. I'm going to put it in a box. I have your address. I'm going to mail them to you right away. So
I don't believe it before I say it. I don't believe it.
Thank you for.
I want cookies. Yeah, no, I want to say something as well. I mean, I've been on now for over 2 years, and it's been a blast. It has really been a blast, and we have gone through a lot together. And I am going to pop up here and there.
You will.
I know I'm going to be on the show before WrestleMania, for example. I know that. Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite shows to do, and I know we're going to do the wrestling.
The top 500
server. We need to do that next year as well. So you're not getting rid of me, but no. I'm not going to be here on a weekly basis. And we can announce that Bill is going to be on episode 200 of Another Digital Citizen, helping us out with a tournament that we will have with a lot of exciting guests.
Somebody calling it down the middle on this tournament this time.
We needed a third person. So I love you with all my life. We are going to do the last season, what I think is going to be the last season of South Park when that comes around.
Yeah, well, you know what? Well, you know what? I forgot to talk about that last week with you. The new season starts September 25th.
Yeah, it's not that long too.
No, I'm still wondering if it's going to be the last season.
I think it is.
Although we do know.
I actually hope it is. I will give you some arguments for that when we talk about it.
Although we do know that this year they will hit the 300 episode mark. So
yes.
All right, so I will be back next week, maybe alone, maybe with somebody else. Who knows? Until then, Everybody have a good, safe weekend wherever you are, no matter what you're doing. And come back here next week for another episode of That Wrestling Show, the only podcast where all pro wrestling matters. And as always,
Norway is too hot! Norway is too hot! Norway is too hot!
oh God, oh my God, Fro, you're burning! Oh shit! Wrestle on.